The morning had started like any other in the city of Solara. People were hurrying to work, children laughed as they walked to school, and the sunlight reflected off the tall glass towers, making the streets shine like a silver river. But no one expected that everything would change in a single moment. A low hum filled the sky first. At first it sounded like distant thunder, but it was too steady, too rhythmic. People looked up. The birds scattered. From the clouds emerged massive shapes, unlike anything humans had ever seen. Ships, enormous and sleek, moved silently through the air. Their surfaces shimmered with colors that seemed to shift and glow, not reflecting sunlight but creating it. Panic spread instantly. Cars skidded to a halt. People screamed and ran in every direction. The ships hovered above the city, casting giant shadows over the streets. Then, from one of the largest ships, a beam of blue light shot down, and the ground shook with energy. Buildings trembled. Windows cracked, and then she appeared. The alien queen. She was taller than any human, her body slender but powerful. Her skin shimmered like liquid metal, and her eyes glowed a bright violet. Her presence alone made people feel small, weak, as if all their courage had been drained from them in an instant. She raised her hand and drones, dozens of them, rose into the sky. Moving with deadly precision, the military scrambled to respond. Fighter jets rose into the sky, lasers firing, but the Queen's drones intercepted them effortlessly, tearing the aircraft apart with bright energy beams. The city's defense systems tried to retaliate, but every missile and laser seemed useless. The Queen was not just strong. She was smart, controlling every move with a calm and terrifying intelligence. People ran through the streets, shouting for their families. Mothers clutched their children, old men stumbled as they fled, and teenagers grabbed whatever weapons they could find. Even so, the aliens advanced steadily, not reckless, but deliberate. They were taking the city, and there seemed to be nothing anyone could do. In the central plaza, thousands of citizens had gathered, trapped by the alien occupation. The plaza was usually a place of joy and celebration, but now it had become a place of fear. People huddled together, watching the Queen and her army from the steps of statues and fountains. Her drones hovered above them like dark clouds, scanning for any sign of resistance. Among the crowd, people whispered, She's controlling everything. There's no way we can fight her. Just hide. Maybe she won't notice us." The Queen's voice echoed across the plaza, though she didn't speak aloud. Her psychic presence reached into the minds of everyone present. A strange feeling of being watched, measured, and found wanting. Humans. Her voice was smooth, almost musical, but cold. "Your resistance is futile." People shivered, not knowing whether they heard it with their ears or felt it in their minds. The air around them seemed to vibrate, heavy and dangerous. But even in the midst of fear, there were small sparks of defiance. A young boy picked up a metal pipe and swung it at a hovering drone. It shattered against the alien armor instantly, but the boy's eyes burned with determination. An old woman shouted, waving a cane at the sky, and some soldiers in hiding nodded to her, drawing their guns with shaky hands. The Queen's lips curved slightly, almost amused. She raised her arms, and suddenly the drones formed a ring above the plaza. Beams of light scanned the crowd, seeking threats. People ducked, pressed against walls, and tried to hide. But the Queen's attention seemed to fall on every small act of defiance. She did not strike yet, not because she was weak, but because she enjoyed seeing humans tremble. From a balcony above the plaza, a soldier tried to rally the people. "Listen to me," he shouted. "We can fight back. Use your minds, your tools, anything. Don't give up." His words were lost in the noise of fear. People wanted to run, to hide, not fight. The Queen's presence made them doubt themselves, doubt everything they had ever believed. How could humans, fragile and weak, stand against such power? But not everyone was afraid. In the middle of the crowd, a young human stood still. His name was Aaron. He was just an ordinary man, not a soldier, not a hero by any measure. He had come to the plaza to meet a friend before work, And now he found himself staring at the queen, her eyes glowing like twin suns. His heart pounded, but he did not move. He did not run around him. The panic continued. People tripped over each other, cried out for help, shouted at family members to move faster. But Aaron's gaze never left the queen. He studied her movements. The way her drones reacted instantly to her thoughts. The way the light shifted across her armor. He noticed patterns, small things that most would miss. And in that moment, a strange feeling grew inside him. Not fear, not despair. Something else. Determination. Aaron saw a metal structure nearby, a communications tower that had fallen partially from the energy beams. He imagined using it, turning it into a tool. Not a weapon of brute force, but something clever, something unexpected. The queen expected humans to panic, to flee, to beg. But she would not expect ingenuity. The crowd screamed as a drone swooped down, striking a man who had tried to climb the fountain. The man fell unconscious, and people cried out in horror. But Aaron did not flinch. He felt the fear, yes, but he also felt something stronger, a need to act, to show that humanity was not defeated yet. Meanwhile, the queen lifted into the air, her body floating effortlessly above the plaza. She raised one hand, and the drones formed a protective circle around her, ready to strike any who dared approach. Her voice echoed again, sharper this time, a warning. Step forward, human, and you will regret it. One moved. Except Aaron. He took a slow step forward, then another. The crowd gasped. Mothers grabbed their children, soldiers looked on in disbelief, and the queen's eyes narrowed. How could one human be so bold? So foolish? Aaron ignored the fear twisting in his stomach. He was small, unarmed in any traditional sense, but he had something the queen could not understand. A human mind, creative, adaptable, and determined. He looked at the drones, at the energy beams, at the alien technology that seemed impossible to touch, and he began to think, to plan. How could he turn the queen's strength against her? How could he make a single human matter in a battle where humanity seemed doomed? The first part of the invasion was not about victory. It was about standing up when everyone else cowered. And as Aaron stepped forward, he sent a silent message to every human watching. Fear is temporary. Courage is eternal. The queen's eyes flared violet, her power rippling outward, but Aaron did not falter. Around him, a spark of hope ignited in the crowd. If one human could stand, perhaps others could too. Perhaps humanity was not yet finished. The sky remained dark with the alien ships, the city trembling beneath them. But for the first time that day, the people felt something new, the tiniest flicker of defiance. The plaza had fallen silent, but not because the people were calm. Every human present felt a mixture of fear and disbelief. The alien queen hovered above, her drones circling like black hawks, scanning for threats. Her violet eyes glowed with intelligence, seeing through every attempt at hiding, every trembling heartbeat. And yet, among the trembling, there was one human who did not flinch. Aaron stood his ground, a small figure in the vast open space. He did not have a weapon yet, not a real one, but he had his mind and his courage. That was enough for now. Around him, civilians whispered and panicked. "She's too strong." "There's no hope," an old man muttered, clutching his wife's hand. "We're going to die here," a young woman said, shaking. Her child clung to her leg, eyes wide with terror. But some people, seeing Aaron's bravery, out. A flicker of something they had thought lost. Hope. A group of teenagers peeked out from behind a fountain. They were scared, but they were also curious. "Why isn't he running?" One whispered. "Maybe he's crazy," the other replied. Aaron's mind was moving fast. The drones were precise, their attacks fast, but they were predictable. They responded directly to the queen's thoughts, following simple commands. That meant that if someone acted in an unexpected way, something the queen could not predict, they could find openings. He scanned the plaza. Broken pieces of machinery, fallen scaffolding, metal pipes, a toppled delivery truck. Everything could be used. Everything could be a tool. He didn't know exactly how yet, but he knew humans had done impossible things before. They had survived floods, earthquakes, wars, and fires. Why not this? Suddenly, a small boy tried to throw a rock at a drone. The drone zipped toward him instantly and snatched the rock mid-air. The boy fell to the ground, crying. People gasped. Fear rippled through the crowd like a storm. The Queen's voice, though silent in speech, coded in their minds. Futile. You are weak. People trembled. They wanted to run, hide, collapse, but Aaron remained calm, breathing slowly. He knew that panic would be the true enemy. The humans were not out of options yet. From the edges of the plaza, soldiers and police had gathered, forming a loose line. Their weapons glowed faintly with energy-based rounds, experimental tech designed to counter alien armor. But even they looked uncertain. Some aimed at the drones, but their weapons were almost useless, deflected effortlessly by alien shields. Others hesitated, unsure of whether to fire at all. The Queen's psychic presence seemed to reach into their minds, weakening their confidence, making them doubt every action. Aaron realized he could not rely on conventional force. He had to be clever. Humans were not the strongest creatures in the galaxy, but they were adaptable. They could solve problems. They could improvise. That was their strength. He noticed a group of construction robots, half destroyed but still operational, near a broken building. With careful movements, he nudged one over, using a piece of metal as a lever. It moved slowly, but could be controlled. If he could lure a drone toward it, perhaps he could use it as a trap. Meanwhile, the crowd watched in growing awe and fear. Some began whispering, "Look at him. He's not afraid," one woman said. Maybe we can fight too," a teenager added softly. The Queen's eyes narrowed. How could one human be so bold, so defiant? She decided to make an example. She focused her energy, and the plaza trembled. Beams of violet light shot toward the ground, carving patterns in the stone. People stumbled and fell. The air crackled with power, but Aaron did not move back. Instead, he crouched low, hiding behind a piece of rubble while observing the drone's patterns. They moved in predictable ways, circling, scanning, waiting for threats. He realized that if he could act faster than they could react, even briefly, he might gain an advantage nearby. A group of engineers had joined the plaza, bringing tools and devices. They were terrified, but seeing Aaron's courage, they felt a spark of bravery. One engineer whispered to another, "If we help him, maybe, just maybe we can do something." Karen nodded silently to himself. He would need them. He couldn't face the Queen alone. Humans were small individually, but together, they could be formidable. The first move came almost accidentally. A drone swooped toward a woman hiding near the fountain. Without thinking, Aaron grabbed a metal pipe and swung it, knocking a piece of debris into the drone. The drone wavered mid-air, momentarily thrown off. It was a tiny success, but it was enough to inspire the crowd. People began picking up anything they could find: rocks, pipes, broken metal, even pieces of machinery, and preparing to help. The Queen's attention shifted fully to Aaron. "Foolish human," she said in her mind. "You cannot win." But humans were not meant to win by sheer strength. They won by adapting, by thinking, by never giving up. Aaron's mind raced. He noticed the plaza had several overturned delivery trucks. If he could use them to block drones or create obstacles, he could protect the crowd while planning a counterattack. A soldier beside him finally spoke, voice shaking. We'll cover you. Do something." Aaron nodded, grateful. Together, they began arranging the trucks and rubble, forming crude barricades. Every move was small, but every move mattered. Drones approached cautiously, unsure of what the humans were planning. One young boy, inspired by Aaron, threw a small electronic device at a drone. It exploded in sparks, briefly blinding it. Others followed, hurling anything they could find. The drone started reacting, but too late the humans were acting unpredictably. Breaking patterns the Queen had relied on, the Queen's fury grew. She released a psychic pulse, knocking people to the ground. Many cried out in pain. But Aaron rolled to the side, protected by a barricade. The engineers and soldiers helped civilians to their feet. Slowly, inch by inch, humans began to regain their composure. Aaron realized the Queen had underestimated them. She saw humans as weak and simple. But humans had one advantage she could not control: creativity. They could see problems differently. They could act in ways that were not logical to an alien mind. He spotted an energy generator near the edge of the plaza. If he could redirect its power toward one of the drones, even briefly, he could disable it. He ran toward it, dodging the Queen's psychic blasts, ignoring fear. Every step was dangerous, but every step was necessary. A small group followed him: civilians, soldiers, and engineers, all working together instinctively. They moved with purpose, improvising tools and weapons. The Queen's eyes flared with anger. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were supposed to panic, not plan. Aaron reached the generator. With quick thinking, he rerouted the energy using a makeshift cable he found nearby. Sparks flew, and the nearest drone jerked violently, then fell to the ground, disabled. The crowd cheered, even though fear still gripped them. "See," someone shouted. "We can fight back." The Queen recoiled, her attention fully on the humans who dared resist. She raised her arms, summoning more drones, but the humans were no longer frozen in fear. They moved together, using barricades, improvised tools, and quick thinking to outmaneuver the alien attackers. Aaron's heart pounded. He knew this was only the beginning. The Queen was powerful, stronger than anything humans had faced, but the tide had changed. For the first time, humans were not just victims. They were participants in their own defense. And as the crowd worked together, inspired by one human's courage, something remarkable happened. The Queen's psychic hold on the plaza weakened. She had counted on fear to control them, but now courage and creativity had broken her influence. The humans were still small. They were still outnumbered. But they had hope. And hope, Aaron knew, could become a weapon stronger than any alien technology. The first victory, small as it was, gave humans a taste of what they could do. And in the heart of the plaza, Aaron realized something important. It did not matter how strong the Queen was. Humanity's strength lay in their determination, their creativity, and their unwillingness to give up even in the face of the impossible. The Queen, seeing her drones fail, narrowed her eyes. She had underestimated humans, and that mistake would cost her. For the first time in the invasion, the humans of Solara stood tall, not just as terrified citizens, but as fighters. And at the center of it all was one ordinary human, standing against an impossible enemy, inspiring everyone around him to rise. The plaza was no longer silent. Shouts, clangs, and the hum of machinery filled the air as humans moved with purpose. For the first time since the invasion began, fear was no longer the only sound. Hope and determination mingled with panic, creating a strange electric energy that the Queen could sense. Aaron stood at the center, surveying the crowd. Barricades of trucks, metal beams, and rubble created pathways for the humans to maneuver. Makeshift weapons littered the ground pipes, wires, small devices jury-rigged to spark and explode. It was not perfect, but it was enough to make the Queen pause. Even for a moment, he noticed how the Queen's drones moved, sleek and fast, scanning for targets. She had underestimated humans, assuming they would act with predictable fear. But humans did not act like that. They were chaotic, creative, impossible to predict. That was their advantage. Aaron. A soldier shouted, "You can't do this alone." "I don't have to," Aaron replied, voice steady. "I just need to lead. Show them we can fight." Humans were listening now. Children peeked from behind barricades, engineers adjusted devices, and soldiers moved with renewed courage. Everyone wanted to see what Aaron would do next. He looked toward the Queen, who hovered high above the plaza, her drones forming a perfect, deadly circle around her. "You think you've won?" she said, her voice like ice in his mind. "But humans are fragile. One by one, you will fail." Aaron clenched his fists. Fragile? Maybe, but we're clever, and we don't give up. Took a step forward, and a cheer rippled through the crowd. Not a loud cheer, not yet, but a small sound of courage echoing through fear. Aaron's plan was simple, but risky. He would lure the Queen's drones into the machinery scattered around the plaza, using the environment against them. The humans had seen the drones falter before, when surprise and unpredictability worked in their favor. If they could disable enough drones, the Queen herself would become vulnerable. He ran toward a fallen crane, its metal arm bent, but still movable. Using pieces of wire and scrap metal, he rigged a trap, creating a pulley system. Sparks flew as he connected circuits and adjusted angles. The Queen's drones swooped closer, curious about the activity. One moved too close and Aaron yanked a cable. The drone hit the metal arm and stumbled, its lights flickering. The crowd gasped. Humans clapped, not in celebration, but in encouragement. Small acts, they realized, could make a difference. A young engineer beside Aaron spoke rapidly, coded improvising a signal jammer from discarded electronics. "This will confuse their sensors," she shouted. Aaron nodded. "Good. Let's do it together." The Queen's eyes flared. She had predicted fear, panic, and submission. Not planning. Not teamwork. She waved her hand, and a pulse of energy shot toward the humans, trying to knock them back. People fell, but the barricades absorbed much of the impact. Aaron rolled behind a truck, grabbing a piece of metal for cover. Then he stood again. He had to keep moving. Every second of hesitation gave the Queen time to adjust, to plan. Humans could only win if they acted faster than she could. He threw a small device toward a hovering drone. It exploded in a shower of sparks, momentarily blinding it. Another drone swooped in, but the engineer's signal jammer scrambled its sensors. It crashed into a barricade, sparks flying. The Queen's frustration was growing. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and unwilling to submit. She focused, sending another psychic wave to paralyze the crowd. But Aaron countered by directing them. "Keep moving. Use the barricades. Don't stop." The humans obeyed. Even those who had been paralyzed by fear now acted, following Aaron's example. Civilians picked up broken pieces of metal, wiring, and tools, tossing them at drones or using them to reinforce barricades. Soldiers moved with precision, protecting weaker citizens and improvising traps. Aaron spotted another opportunity. Across the plaza, a pile of fuel containers leaned against a wall. If he could ignite them at the right moment, he could create a temporary shield, forcing the drones to retreat. He ran, dodging energy beams, and positioned the containers. Sparks from nearby wires caught the fuel, sending a controlled burst of flame into the air. The drones veered away, confused and uncoordinated. "Now," Aaron shouted, "push forward." The crowd surged. Humans moved with newfound courage, coordinated chaos flowing through the plaza. The drones, meant to inspire terror, were now being forced to react, and they were slow to adjust. One by one, they faltered, their precision disrupted by human ingenuity and daring. The Queen's violet eyes narrowed. This was not supposed to happen. Fear should have controlled them. Panic should have ended resistance. But these humans, they were different. She had underestimated them. Aaron felt a thrill of determination. He was not strong in the way the Queen was, but humans had a different kind of strength. They were resourceful, brave, and unpredictable. Every human act of courage, every small victory against the drones, weakened the Queen's control. He noticed a young girl hiding behind a barricade, holding a metal rod. Her eyes were wide, but she looked at him for guidance. Aaron gave a small nod. Courage was contagious. Small acts could inspire others to act. A drone swooped toward her. Without thinking, Aaron leapt, pushing her out of the way. The drone clipped the barricade instead, falling into a pile of rubble. The crowd gasped, then cheered. One human's bravery could save another. That was the lesson of humanity. The Queen's drones had never faced this kind of resistance. Every attack she sent was met with improvisation, with unpredictability, with courage. Her psychic hold over the plaza weakened. She realized that she could not simply overwhelm these humans. They were alive, fighting in ways she could not anticipate. Aaron knew the battle was far from over. He could not defeat the Queen alone, but he could inspire humans to act. That was enough for now. Humans needed a spark, and he had become it. He ran toward the center of the plaza, rallying the civilians and soldiers. We can do this. Together, we can make them fall back. Do not fear. Humans responded. The young and old, the weak and strong, all moved with a sense of purpose. They dodged, blocked, attacked, and improvised, turning the plaza into a battlefield where courage mattered more than strength. The Queen hovered.
8. Her expression darkening.
She could see her drones faltering, her control slipping. Humans, fragile as they were, had something she could not understand. They had determination. They had heart. And that, she realized with a flicker of disbelief, was dangerous. Aaron's mind raced. He saw the Queen, powerful and imposing, floating above the plaza. He had no weapons that could match her strength. But he had the humans around him, the creativity they could provide, and the knowledge that one human's courage could ignite many more. He raised his arms, signaling a new plan. Engineers connected wires, creating a grid of sparks to confuse the drones. Soldiers positioned barricades to block paths. Civilians, through objects, improvised tools, anything to keep the drones busy. The Queen's eyes glowed brighter, her psychic energy crackling like lightning. She'd underestimated humans, and she would not do so again. But even she could not account for the collective ingenuity of a species that had survived countless disasters by thinking differently, by acting unpredictably, by never giving up. Aaron ran forward, dodging beams, and leapt onto a barricade, pointing toward the Queen. Do not let fear control you. Fight. Show them who we are. The crowd roared, not in the way they had before, but with power. They were no longer just victims. They were humans. They were defiant, and they were alive. The Queen, sensing the shift, tilted her head. This human, this ordinary human, was the spark. One small, brave individual had reminded all humans that fear could be overcome, that courage could spread like fire, that ingenuity could topple even the mightiest enemy. And in that moment, Aaron realized the truth. Humans did not need to match the Queen in strength. They only needed to stand, to think, to inspire. That was their weapon. That was their power. The battle in the plaza had changed. The humans, once paralyzed by fear, were now moving as one. Each act of bravery, each spark of creativity, chipped away at the Queen's control. And though the fight was far from over, the first victory had been won. A single human had stood. And that was enough to start turning the tide. The plaza was no longer a place of fear. It was alive with action. Humans moved like a single organism, each individual acting in small ways that combined into a powerful, coordinated effort. Barricades had been reinforced, sparks flew from improvised devices. And the drones that had once terrorized the crowd now fell one by one. Outwitted by human creativity, Aaron stood at the center, breathing heavily, but his mind was sharp. Every moment counted. He had learned the drones' patterns, their weaknesses, and most importantly, the Queen's reliance on her psychic control. If he could inspire the humans to act unpredictably, they could make her overextend, even weaken herself. The Queen hovered higher, surveying the growing human resistance. Her violet eyes glowed with intensity, scanning the plaza. This was not supposed to happen. She expected fear, submission, panic, but she saw something else. Humans moving as one, cooperating, daring to challenge her power. Aaron took a deep breath. He needed a bold move, something that would disrupt the Queen's focus and give the humans a clear advantage. He pointed toward a fallen construction crane, its long metal arms swinging slightly from previous explosions. Move the crane. He shouted to a group of engineers and soldiers. At first, the engineers hesitated. The crane was massive and unstable. One wrong move could crush them. But seeing Aaron's determination, they nodded. Together, they ran, using ropes and levers, and positioned the crane over a cluster of drones. Aaron directed them, calculating angles and timing, making sure the drones would be trapped when the crane fell. The Queen noticed immediately. "Humans? Impossible," she whispered, her thoughts echoing across the plaza. Her psychic powers pulsed, trying to disrupt the humans, but the humans had learned to act in short, unpredictable bursts. They were no longer simple prey. They were clever, resourceful, united. Aaron glanced at the crowd. Children peeked from behind barricades, eyes wide with excitement and fear. Soldiers and engineers worked side by side with civilians, passing tools, directing each other, improvising constantly. Every small victory gave them more confidence. Every drone they disabled made them bolder. Arin seized the moment. He ran forward, dodging energy beams and falling debris, and activated a small device he had prepared earlier. It emitted a bright, pulsing light that scrambled drone sensors within a small radius. Several drones collided with barricades, sparks flying. The Queen's drones faltered, confused and disorganized. The Queen's frustration grew. She had relied on fear to control humans. Fear had always been her weapon. But these humans? They were unpredictable. They adapted. They acted with courage. They were alive in ways she could not comprehend. Aaron did not stop. He ran toward a fallen communication tower, climbing to the top. From there, he could see the entire plaza and coordinate the humans. He shouted instructions, directing groups to block drones, to reinforce barricades, and to use improvised weapons, focus on their patterns. He yelled, "Don't panic. We can outsmart them." The humans obeyed, moving with purpose and coordination. They blocked drones, misled them, and attacked in ways the Queen could not anticipate. She realized that the humans were no longer reacting. They were thinking, and thinking made them dangerous. A group of engineers worked quickly to connect wires from a nearby generator to a large metal barricade. Sparks shot along the cables, and when the next drone approached, it touched the barricade and short-circuited, falling harmlessly to the ground. The crowd cheered. The sound was like a wave of energy, lifting the spirits of everyone present. The Queen narrowed her eyes. She could sense the shift. Her drones were failing, her psychic influence weakening. Humans were not supposed to resist so effectively. She had underestimated them. But she was not defeated yet. She focused all her power, sending a psychic wave across the plaza in a desperate attempt to regain control. People fell to the ground, groaning. The energy was strong, disorienting, but Aaron stayed upright. He grabbed a piece of metal and held it like a shield. "Get up! Don't let her scare you," he shouted. Slowly, the humans recovered, shaking off the disorientation. Courage, he knew, could be stronger than fear. Aaron spotted another opportunity. Several drones had clustered near the plaza's edge, forming a small patrol. He shouted instructions to a group of soldiers. Using ropes and improvised pulleys, they toppled a series of metal barriers, creating a trap. The drones, unable to react quickly enough, crashed into the barricades and were disabled. The Queen screamed in her mind, her psychic powers flaring violently. Humans resist. Impossible. Aaron smiled slightly. She thought she could control humans with fear. She thought she could dominate them with power. But humans were clever. Humans adapted. Humans worked together. And that, he realized, was their greatest weapon. From the center of the plaza, he called out to the crowd, "We're winning. Keep going. Every small act counts." The humans responded with renewed energy. Civilians hurled objects, improvised devices sparked and exploded. Soldiers moved with precision, and engineers rigged more traps. Even children, hidden behind barricades, watched with wide eyes. Learning courage from the example of adults, the Queen floated above, her frustration mounting. Her drones had been neutralized. Her psychic waves resisted. Humans, she realized with growing alarm, were not following the script she had expected. They were thinking, adapting, and daring to fight back. Aaron knew this was the moment. He needed to inspire the humans even further. He climbed onto a barricade, higher than anyone else, and raised his arms. Do not stop. We are humans. We survive. We fight. We are clever, brave, and united. The crowd roared, a sound that echoed across the plaza. Humans who had been paralyzed by fear now acted with purpose. Engineers and soldiers coordinated their efforts. Civilians improvised weapons, and together, they formed a wall of defiance that even the Queen could not easily overcome. Aaron noticed the Queen's focus narrowing. She was concentrating on him, trying to anticipate his next move. That was good. If she focused too much on one target, it left other humans free to act. He nodded to a group of engineers. Now, activate the energy grid. Sparks shot along wires, sending a pulse that disabled several more drones. The Queen's patrol fell apart, her army in disarray. The humans had proven that intelligence, creativity, and courage could triumph over power. The Queen hovered in place, frustrated, furious, and exhausted by the humans' unpredictable tactics. She had underestimated them. She had assumed they would fear her, submit, and die quietly. But humans were not like that. They were small, fragile, yet clever and resilient. Aaron knew the battle was far from over. The Queen was still strong, still dangerous. But the humans had taken the first real step toward victory. They had shown that courage could spread, that determination could inspire, and that even ordinary humans could accomplish extraordinary things. He looked at the crowd. Now moving as one, acting with intelligence and bravery, every small action mattered. Every human who stood tall became part of a greater force. And in that moment, Aaron realized the truth. Humanity's strength was not in power, but in heart, mind, and unity. The Queen, seeing the humans rise, realized that she had underestimated the species she had come to conquer. She could dominate with force, but she could not crush ingenuity. She could frighten, but she could not destroy determination. And determination, once awakened, was stronger than any weapon she possessed. Aaron felt a surge of pride. Humans had begun to rise. From fear and chaos, they were becoming something greater. They were alive, defiant, and courageous. They were human. The plaza had transformed. What was once a place of fear and chaos was now a battlefield alive with courage, movement, and determination. Humans worked as one, each person contributing in small ways that made a big difference. Barricades had been reinforced, improvised devices sparked and hummed with energy, and drones fell one by one. Able to withstand the humans' ingenuity, Arin stood at the center, surveying the scene. His clothes were torn, his face streaked with sweat and dirt, but his eyes shone with determination. Every human present was working together now, moving with purpose and precision. The air buzzed with energy, the energy of courage, hope, and unity. The alien Queen hovered above, furious. Her violet eyes glowed with intensity as she surveyed her weakening army. Drones had fallen into traps, short-circuited, or been destroyed by clever improvisations. Her psychic waves, once enough to control the crowd, were resisted by humans who had learned to act unpredictably. She could feel the shift. Fear was no longer her ally. Determination had taken its place, spreading through the humans like fire. They had learned that small, clever actions could disrupt her plans. They had learned that courage was stronger than intimidation. Aaron raised his arms, signaling the humans to push forward. Keep moving. Every small act matters. We can win. We are human, and we do not give up. Civilians cheered, engineers adjusted devices to disable drones, and soldiers led coordinated attacks. Children watched from safe positions, learning that bravery was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. The Queen's drones swooped down in desperation, trying to regain control, but humans were ready. Barricades redirected their paths, improvised weapons disabled them, and spark-filled devices confused their sensors. One by one, the drones fell, leaving only a handful to defend the Queen herself. Aaron saw an opportunity. The remaining drones were clustered near the plaza's edge. He pointed and shouted instructions to a group of soldiers and engineers. Push the barricades forward. Channel the drones into the trap. The humans moved quickly, working as one. Barricades shifted, ropes pulled, and the remaining drones were funneled into a narrow corridor. Sparks and improvised devices disabled each drone as it passed, leaving none to protect the Queen. The Queen's eyes narrowed. She realized that she had underestimated humans in every way. They were fragile, clever, and united. One human had sparked the courage of many, and together they had become something more powerful than her army. Aaron took a deep breath. He knew this was the moment to show the Queen that humanity could not be defeated. He ran toward the center of the plaza where the Queen floated above, her presence still commanding but no longer absolute. "Humanity," she said in a cold, psychic voice, "you cannot defeat me. You are too weak, too small." Aaron looked up at her, unafraid. "Weak, maybe, but clever, determined, brave, and united. That is enough." He noticed the Queen's attention focusing entirely on him. That was exactly what he wanted. If she concentrated on him, she would underestimate the humans around her. He could be the spark, the symbol, the one to inspire the rest of humanity to act boldly. With careful timing, Aaron activated a large device the engineers had rigged, a combination of energy fields and sparks designed to confuse the Queen's perception. Light flashed across the plaza, reflecting off metal barricades and scattering drones. The Queen's psychic control wavered as the humans moved unpredictably. Exploiting every opening, the crowd erupted into action. Civilians hurled devices, engineers redirected energy fields, soldiers coordinated attacks. Every human, no matter how small or ordinary, became part of the plan. Every small act, every spark of courage, pushed the Queen further back. She could feel it, her power over the plaza slipping. Humans had learned to resist, to fight, to act in ways she could not anticipate. Their creativity, their determination, their unity was overwhelming. Aaron saw the opening he had been waiting for. The Queen floated closer, descending to strike. But humans had already prepared. Barricades, devices, and improvised traps surrounded her. She had power, but humans had cleverness and heart. The Queen unleashed a psychic pulse, aiming to knock everyone down. But Aaron had anticipated it. He directed the humans to press forward, using the energy of the pulse to their advantage. Moving with it, pushing the Queen's drones into traps, and weakening her position, the Queen's frustration was clear. She had expected humans to submit, to cower, to fear. Instead, they had risen. And the one human at the center of it all around had shown them how. The Queen attempted one last wave of psychic power, focusing all her strength, but humans acted as one. Soldiers and civilians redirected energy beams, engineers stabilized devices, and barricades blocked the pulse. The Queen faltered. Her energy weakened. Her drones, her army, her influence, they were all failing. Aaron stepped forward, standing tall. "We are humans," he shouted. "We survive, we fight, and we never give up." The plaza echoed with cheers. Humans, inspired by courage, acted in unison. The Queen's power could not withstand the force of determination. She hovered for a moment, realizing that victory was no longer possible, and then with a final glare she retreated. Violet light flashed as she ascended into the sky, her ships following. The humans watched in awe and relief as the alien fleet disappeared beyond the clouds. The plaza erupted in celebration. People hugged, cheered, and laughed with relief. Fear had been replaced by joy, pride, and hope. They had faced the impossible and survived. Aaron stood amidst the crowd, exhausted but smiling. He had not fought alone. Every human had contributed. Every act of courage mattered. They had proven that humanity's strength was not in sheer power, but in heart, mind, and unity. Children ran forward, placing their hands on Aaron's shoulders, looking up at him with admiration. Soldiers and engineers nodded respectfully. Civilians who had once hidden now celebrated boldly. He had become a symbol, but the true victory belonged to all humans. The city began to recover. People helped each other, rebuilt barricades into safer structures, and tended to the wounded. Humanity had faced a force far stronger than themselves and had risen. Aaron looked toward the sky, imagining the alien queen regrouping somewhere, planning her next move. But he knew that humans would be ready. Fear had been replaced by courage, despair by determination. Humanity had learned a lesson. Strength was not only in might, but in heart, creativity, and unity. The plaza was filled with laughter, cheers, and tears of relief. Humans had stood against the impossible. They had resisted. They had fought. And they had won. Aaron knew that the invasion was only the beginning of a larger struggle in the galaxy. But he also knew that humans, united and determined, could face any challenge. They had faced the alien queen and survived. They had shown that even in the darkest moments, courage and ingenuity could change the course of events as the sun began to set. Casting a golden light across the plaza, humans looked at one another with pride. They had learned to stand together, to inspire each other, and to act boldly. And in the heart of it all was one ordinary human who had dared to stand, to fight, and to lead. The story of that day would be remembered for generations, not as a tale of fear, but as a testament to the spirit of humanity. The alien queen had come to conquer, but she left knowing that humans were not so easily broken. Aaron smiled. Humanity had risen, and nothing, not fear, not alien power, not impossible odds, could take that away.